Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, fellow members of Fine Gael. Following strong implementation of the revised EU IMF programme, the Irish economy is now emerging from a deep and prolonged recession, and signs of an economic recovery are increasingly evident. The substantial improvement in competitiveness is underpinning an expansion of service exports. Domestic demand is stabilising after a sharp decline. GDP is projected to increase by 2% this year, with both domestic and external demand making a positive contribution. Recovery is clearly evident in the labour market, with the unemployment rate now at its lowest level since 2009. Financial sector stability has been restored, confidence is improving, and deposits and other private capital are returning to the Irish banking system. Irish banks are issuing securities in the capital markets to fund themselves, and the state has started exiting its investments. However, it is important to note that none of this would have been possible without the resilience, commitment and the will to succeed amongst the people of Ireland, and this must be acknowledged. On behalf of the Kinnity branch of Fine Gael and County Offaly, I propose the motion that this Ardèche recognises the sacrifices made by the Irish people in helping the state exit its bailout programme, and ask that the government strictly follow the fiscal targets that are set out in the government's medium economic strategy. Thank you very much.
My name is Josepha Madigan. I am a first-time candidate in the local elections in the Slorgan ward in Dublin Rathdown. My motion is, from Dublin Rathdown, that this Ardèche calls on the government to alleviate the income tax burden when the public finances allow. Dublin Rathdown constituency has proposed this motion, as although we fully support and understand why income tax had to increase significantly over the past few years, we also believe fundamentally that economic activity drives revenue, not increased taxes. The cumulative effect of tax increases has brought us to a competitive tipping point, where the current burden is restricting job creation, both domestic and FDI related. We believe that reducing income tax in an equitable manner, which reinforces the progressive nature of the Irish tax system, will support the government's overarching goal of reducing unemployment by encouraging greater consumption, increasing economic activity and creating more jobs in the process. I urge this Ardèche to support this motion. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kate O'Connell, first-time candidate for Rathgar-Rathmines ward in Dublin Bay South. My motion today is that this Ardèche calls on the government to ensure NAMA is most effectively meeting its objective of assisting in the sustainable recovery of the property market and the wider economy on behalf of the Irish people. NAMA was originally established to deal with so-called toxic assets. Recently, we have seen the potential of NAMA to play a positive social role in the redevelopment of projects to serve local communities. NAMA is going to facilitate the construction of 4,400 new housing units in the Greater Dublin area to help tackle with the undersupply of housing and social housing. If some good is to come out of this expensive mess created by Fianna Fáil, it should be that social housing is not in a constant state of crisis. It is also important that NAMA is put to bed finally, so that we can close this chapter in our history. NAMA was created to sort out a crisis in our country. We need to make sure that the Irish people get the maximum return for the financial burden inflicted upon them by the reckless acts of property developers, bankers, and all that was a result of Fianna Fáil policy. We need to make sure that NAMA is sorted out and that the remaining loans are sold on at the best possible price so that we can move on as a country. Thank you very much.
Kate O'Connell from Dunleary. Now John McGahan, a nephew, by the way,
I'm 23
of the former
and I'm a
TD for now,
candidate in
Brendan
Parliament
McGahan.
electoral area for this May. I'm very confident in the future of my country because I am confident in the ability of the young people of Ireland, like the young tech entrepreneur who sets up a company on his laptop, or the young farmer starting out with a few hectares of land, ambitious to grow his holding. Youth unemployment in Ireland has fallen from 33% to 25%. This is the right direction, but it is simply not enough. It is vital that we, as Fine Gael members at this very Ardèche, recognise the dangerously high level of youth unemployment, that we call on the government to prioritise young people right across Ireland for training schemes, apprenticeships and continued education. Ireland is above the European average for youth unemployment. Delegates, this is a serious issue, and it's one which Minister for Finance Michael Noonan alluded to when he said that unemployment put the wind beneath the wings of every extremist in Europe. Delegates, we need to pass this motion. We need to have an active and vibrant young people in our workforce, and I urge you to do so. Thank you.
You're watching live coverage of the Fine Gael Ardèche here at the RDS in Dublin, chaired by Minister of State Paschal Donoghue.
Good morning. My name is Aileen Brown from Charleville, County Cork, and I'm a first-time candidate running in the Fheis Municipal District. The motion that I'm proposing today on behalf of the Charleville branch is that this Ardèche calls on the government to ensure that the 31 new First Stop Shop local enterprise offices are in place by summer 2014 so that small Irish businesses can benefit from a range of world-class enterprise supports under one roof. Chairperson, I'm encouraged to note that the government is already committed to providing additional funding and staff to the local enterprise offices that are soon to become part of our local government system. I also understand that additional services, including mentoring programmes, a new Young Entrepreneurship Fund, Microfinance Ireland and the Credit Guarantee Scheme will be available from these local enterprise offices, and this is to be welcomed. I can vouch for the benefit of a community having a local enterprise centre, as in my own hometown of Charleville in North Cork, Cork County Council and Charleville Chamber have cooperated to provide a state-of-the-art enterprise centre with 10 hot desks, high-speed internet broadband, meeting rooms, breakout areas and backup secretarial facilities. This bold move by Cork County Council and Charleville Chamber has already yielded results, and more people are using these facilities to start and grow their businesses. We need to develop a culture of enterprise, innovation and entrepreneurship. And I am convinced that the local enterprise offices, working in tandem with individuals and local communities, will provide a much-needed boost to the creation of jobs in rural Ireland. Consequently, I call on the government to ensure that the local enterprise offices are operational and fully supported by this summer. Thank you.
Aileen Brown from Fermoy. We're going to hear from several more local election candidates now. Next, Mark Stafford from Kildare.
Fellow delegates, my name is Mark Stafford and I am proud to introduce the following motion from the Rathangan-Allen branch. That this Ardèche calls on the government to offer real supports to start-up businesses and cut the red tape surrounding these supports. 2/3 of all new jobs come from start-up businesses in the first 5 years of their existence, so it is essential for the government to support new businesses in order to grow employment. The state does offer support and assistance, both financial and advisory, to those establishing new ventures, many of which were established under the Action Plan for Jobs. However, the provision of these supports is across a range of government departments and agencies, meaning that there is a long delay in accessing these supports, or people may be simply unaware of their existence. Take, for example, those who qualify under the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance or the Short-Term Enterprise Allowance. In order to access these supports, you may have to engage with Solace, the Department of Social Protection and a local partnership office before your application is approved. You may also seek advice and supports from upwards of 25 different government agencies. The establishment of the local enterprise offices will go some way to streamlining the process of accessing these supports, and the government should commit to making further inroads in cutting through the red tape surrounding the access to these supports and the myriad of different agencies involved. Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Owen Costello is my name, and my motion was kindly proposed by my branch in Monkstown and supported by our local TD, Mary Mitchell O'Connor. In terms of my own background, I've worked on all sides of the business of startups. I've worked in building them, selling them, supporting them through my current role in the largest incubation centre in Dublin. I work with approximately 70 startups per annum. My motion today calls on our government to implement the key recommendations of Ireland's first Entrepreneurship Forum report. As somebody who is passionate about startups, there are many reasons to be positive at the moment. Minister Bruton is currently preparing the first ever entrepreneurship policy statement for agreement by government. The Action Plan on Jobs of 2014 announced this week was quoted by one media outlet as being all about entrepreneurship and startups. However, we need to convert the worthy aspirations of the Entrepreneurship Forum into actions on the ground. Why? Because Ireland does not rank in the international competitive ranking of startup ecosystems. Myself and a group of incubation centre managers and other entrepreneurs have formed a group called Startup Ireland. Our goal is to help achieve some of the key recommendations of the Entrepreneurship Forum report. In 5 short months, we've built a committed group of 3,000 individuals, including entrepreneurs, funders, mentors and social entrepreneurs. As a party, we are serious about jobs. We now need to get serious about startups. More startups equals more jobs. I'd ask you to support my motion. Thank you.
My name is Councillor Kieran Binchy from the Pembroke South Dock electoral area, and on behalf of Dublin Bay South, I would like to propose the motion that this Ardesh calls on the Government to explore tax reform proposals to help new and start-up companies. Yes, the economy is improving, and yes, this Government has created 70,000 jobs. But forget about statistics for 1 minute. There is a generation out there coming up through schools, colleges and courses, a generation out there looking for its first job. When the members of that generation have a reasonable prospect of employment in their own country and in their own community, then and only then will we be able to say that this recession has been tackled. The indigenous businesses that they will work in, the businesses they will start and the businesses they will lead must be nurtured and they must be encouraged. We have to foster entrepreneurship. The government must get the conditions right, the tax conditions right, to give these new companies and these startups the room to breed and the room to grow. When this is done, this country and every community in it will reap the rewards. I therefore propose this motion, and I call on the Government to introduce tax reforms to help the new and start-up companies that can drive our economic recovery. Thank you.
Standing for election. This is Sandra Lacey, for a local election candidate in Wexford.
Per the programme for government, changes have been made to the social welfare system, with employment and benefit support services integrated in a one-stop shop in the intro offices. So people seeking to establish their benefit entitlements or looking for a job or seeking advice about their training options can get all this information in the same place. While these changes are welcome, it is imperative if someone takes up a job that they are better off financially than when they were on social welfare. This is not always the case, especially with the long-term unemployed, who may well be only starting back in the workforce on minimum wage. Secondary benefits which make such a difference can be lost when people return to work, and this can act as a huge disincentive for people to go back to work. Even though there are some supports in place for people on low incomes, I believe that Fine Gael has to make sure that the Department of Social Protection is proactive in ensuring that people are aware of these supports and that more supports are made available for low income families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, delegates, and to everyone joining us at home. Chairperson, delegates, my name is Frank McQueen, and I'm a 24-year-old candidate in Limerick City West. This motion that Ardesh recognises that young people who become long-term unemployed are most at risk of leaving the workforce permanently, and we urge government to take urgent action to ensure that these people rejoin the workforce. It is aimed at saving a generation from an aimless life on the periphery of our society. While I do not have long to speak to you today, I could talk all day about youth unemployment, tell you my own story, my struggle with unemployment, describe the feeling of researching working visas for foreign countries simply to escape the four walls of your parents' house, describe the black hole in which you live, looking out at the world while struggling and surviving on social welfare payments, tell you about saying goodbye to friends and family who have been forced due to economic circumstances to immigrate to avoid becoming a long-term unemployed statistic, tell you about the effects of generational unemployment caused by children growing up in households that have never experienced working, never experienced contributing to our recovery as a taxpayer. Tell you about the young people I meet working on the front line of the Department of Social Protection, day in and day out, who just don't know what to do, don't know where to turn, and are just seeking help. But one decision is enough to aggressively tackle youth unemployment, to ensure long-term unemployment is not a phrase used to describe my generation. Delegates, I commend this motion to our desk. I ask for your support to support Ireland's young, vibrant and educated citizens. Gurvagat.
Díomh, Sinead Shepherd is Anamdom, Cólor i Ballion Cove. My name is Sinead Shepherd and I am a councillor on Cove Town Council, and I will be contesting the local elections in May. I would like to put forward a motion that this Ardèche recognises that with nearly 300,000 people unemployed, the reform of our social welfare system needs to be accelerated so that caseworkers in our social welfare offices can provide support to job seekers. The fact is, without significant reform of the social welfare system, we have a long and unprecedented period of long-term unemployment. So changing that system is not only desirable, it is essential. With 300,000 people unemployed, and as the majority of those people are employable, it is important for this government to encourage them to engage with the back-to-work services that are provided. I urge the Department of Social Protection to speed up its reform of the social welfare system and stamp out the so-called social welfare traps and help get more people back to work. It is a reality that long-term unemployment is socially disastrous. It is also a reality that Ireland has too high a jobless family rate. We as a government need to change that. Tá súlagam gimiocht takeíocht gur na pointí seanmh gurb míle maithagh galéir.
Good afternoon, delegates. My name is Joe Byrne. I come from Kinvara, and I am a candidate in the local elections representing the Loughrea electoral area. Our motion is that this Ardèche recognises that state-funded training courses should reflect the changing needs of the jobs market. Delegates, the motion is self-explanatory, and I suppose if we do what we always did, we will get what we always got. We need to be adaptable to change. The development of new structures like SOLAS, the Education and Training Boards, the Department of Education and Skills programmes including Springboard and Momentum offers us the opportunity to become the type of society we want to be. JobBridge is proving a successful stepping stone to full-time employment. Our single focus has to be to offer training courses which are specific to the jobs market in order to prevent long-term employment and probably to prevent immigration of our younger people. With regard to the latter, I see it first-hand as someone very involved in the GA in Galway, the effects of immigration on our clubs. The voluntary sector is fundamental to the economy of this country. Groups like the GA, community councils, caring organisations, the tidy towns, to mention a few, could greatly benefit by increasing the number of participants within the community employment schemes. Not alone would it bring a better quality of life to the individuals and prepare them for the jobs market, but it would also enhance our communities. And perhaps in the year that's in it with local elections, that we could consider prioritising the communities as we progress. The new Intrio offices are the single point of contact for the recently or long-term unemployed. This facility must become the single point of contact to determine the training needs within a changing market. Employers are fundamental to the success of these initiatives, as they understand the market best and the skills that are required to enhance their own businesses. Indeed, the contribution earlier of Simon Smith from AIS confirms this point. Delegates, the focus must be the training courses reflect our ever-changing jobs market. We need to be the change we wish to see in Ireland. So please support this motion. Thank you.
My name is Ciara McPhillips and I'm a County Councillor in County Monaghan and a local election candidate in the Clonus-Ballybay area. But today I speak as a young trainee. I am a trainee solicitor and I want to tell you how JobBridge helped me bridge the gap between college and the workplace. After I completed my law degree in UCD and my Masters in the Queen's University of Belfast, I faced the challenge of finding a job in a highly competitive legal sector with no family links to fall back on. The legal sector was one of the worst hit sectors in terms of job losses and wage cuts, second only to construction. However, I set about applying for jobs while continuing to work part-time in a pizza takeaway and signed on for job seekers' benefit for the days on which I had no work. The few replies I did receive from solicitors' firms highlighted my lack of experience. I think this is the most frustrating thing for a graduate. I can't get a job without experience, but how do I get a job without experience? The few replies I did receive highlighted this. Then one day I got a letter from my local Uber office. I was to attend to talk about my efforts to seek full-time employment and the options available to me. The lady I met in the Uber office was very helpful and got me started on a JobBridge internship as a legal secretary in a solicitor's practice. It was not a traineeship, but it was experience, and I jumped at the chance. At the outset, I was told that it was unlikely that there would be a job at the end of my internship, and so I kept applying for other jobs. I interviewed for a lectureship position with a college in Northern Ireland and was offered the job after they were impressed with my knowledge of the practical workings of a solicitor's office. When I went back to hand in my notice at my solicitor's office, I was offered full-time work and a traineeship. I was finally fully employed. I know that people refer to JobBridge and internships as slavery and a scam, but it worked for me. It helped me to overcome the bridge between college and the workplace.